As pandemic soars in US and Brazil, Red Cross Federation chief slams Trump and Bolsonaro for anti-science responses.
Here's a summary of the article.
The head of the Red Cross Federation on Wednesday expressed grave concern about the continuing spread of the coronavirus in the Americas and criticized Brazil and U.S. government leaders for their disastrous science rejecting responses to the pandemic thus far. Francesco Rocca, president of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, made the remarks at a virtual press conference in Geneva where he warned that we haven't yet reached the peak of this outbreak. Rocca said the effects of partisan rhetoric and policies out of line with science on the pandemic were clear. President Donald Trump in the U.S. and Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro have faced sustained criticism over their handling of the coronavirus. Brazil is a distant second with over 1.4 million confirmed cases. According to Rocca, Bolsonaro underestimated the consequences of COVID, and his country is living the consequences. Rocca's remarks came the same day Trump said the virus would disappear.
This post received a score of 13,000, with an upvote ratio of 94%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
You can swim all day in the sea of knowledge and still come out completely dry. Most people do. Norton Juster, The Phantom Tollbooth.
Fucking loved that book growing up. Still have a copy, I think.
A great school teacher read it to our class. Constitutes my only memory of her class. Funny what captures the imagination and resonates for a child.
An anti-science agenda is the worst thing that could happen. Science is humanity's greatest achievement, without which we would still be living in caves, and dying in our 30s. Human society, as we know it, would simply not exist. Anyone, regardless of party, that is anti-science should not be given any power whatsoever.
Greater than we would still be living in caves, and dying in our 30s. Actually, it was worse than dying in our 30s. The life expectancy of 30 to 35 was due to the fact that most children died before reaching adulthood. If you did reach adulthood, you had a good chance to live 40 to 60 years, but the main issue was that reaching adulthood was not a given.
And plenty killed you as an adult, such as falling in battle or getting an infection from a stray loose nail.
Or falling in battle onto a loose nail, that was the worst way to go.
Then there's that guy who brings to battles boards with nails in them.
Fucking super mutants. Watch for Trump to start talking about the Red Cross being an anti-American terrorist organization controlled by China. Just like the WHO.
He can use the time he flew a Red Cross chopper over Floyd protesters as proof.
Clarification to make sure nobody draws incorrect conclusions. It was a military medic helicopter, which had a Red Cross on it. American Red Cross does not own any helicopters, and one of its key values is humanity, which is more in line with Black Lives Matter than this administration's response. Definitely a blatant misuse of the emblem and puts military medical and Red Cross personnel at risk by reducing its protective effect.
Ignorance is one thing, willful ignorance is quite another. There is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there has always been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. Isaac Asimov. Until schools start teaching critical thinking skills, and everyone does what they can to continually improve and sharpen their own, the situation will not improve much. The pandemic is shining such a bright light on the cracks in our civilization that they are now becoming ever more difficult to ignore. The usual mass denial of our reality is steadily being replaced with a mass awakening to the real problems.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.